Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Jamie. I'm an organizer with the Sunrise Movement DC, and we're here today with families affected by the death penalty. And we're here to uplift the names of Dustin Higgs and Billy Allen in particular, because we know that they are two innocent men who have death sentences, and we want to make sure that their names are heard, their stories are told, because since 2003, there have been no federal executions, but starting in July of 2020, the Trump administration resumed federal executions and has since executed 10 men, with 3 more executions scheduled for January. 47 federal executions have been carried out since 1927, and that number should not be 48. We are here to uplift these names. Sunrise Movement DC believes unequivocally that Black Lives Matter. Dustin Higgs' life matters. Billy Allen's life matters. And we know that society will not benefit from taking their lives. Men who did not take another's life do not deserve to die. No one deserves to have their life taken by the state. We know that when their life is taken by the state, If we do not stop these executions, their stories do not end there. The families who are here today will live with that pain and that trauma, and we want to make sure that their stories are uplifted and told, that the people who are watching today and who are here today take action, that they call the White House, that they call the Attorney General, that they sign the petitions, because we know that these men deserve to live. Black Lives Matter, and we want to uplift their stories. I would like to hand over to our next speaker. My apologies, a little confusion on logistics. I'd like to introduce Reverend Shonda Gladden. She is a mother, a scholar, and a dedicated social entrepreneur who has served as a coach, a community advocate, state ambassador, clinician, and speaker throughout the world. She is one of the tri-chairs of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival in Indiana. Reverend Gladden has led and participated in short-term humanitarian projects throughout the continental United States.
So this afternoon, I bring you greetings, as was said, from Indianapolis, Indiana. Let us center ourselves in this moment to seek after the God of the universe, the divine power that animates and actualizes all that is within each and every one of us. Great and mighty eternal Spirit of the living God, the creator of the cosmos, you who were and are to come, we greet you this afternoon with heavy hearts from a week filled with strife, from a week filled with commotion, but yet and still we find ourselves in community, calling upon you to be present in this space, that we may hear your words and your spirit may be sent forth to trouble the spirits of those who have say over the death penalty, over death row, who will indeed be able to hold the power of life and death in their hands in this place. We pray right now that you would send forth your spirit in such a way that they may stay the execution of our loved ones. We call upon you right now specifically to stop the execution of Dustin Higgs on the 15th of January. And we pray now for justice for Billy Allen, who is yet sentenced for death for a crime that he did not commit. We pray for those two names that we named specifically, but for all of the women and men on death row, that their lives may be spared, that the innocent may be freed, and that the guilty may come to acknowledge of their faults and seek reconciliation with you. But God, for those people for whom we have no control, the state legislators, the leader of the current free world as we know it, we ask right now that you would trouble their sleep, that you would disturb their peace until they make the right decision concerning our loved ones. We know that you are more than able, and so we call upon you in this way. Continue to bless the gathering here, that we may be safe in your eyes and in your arms. Until we arrive at our homes, keep us in the hollow of your hand, we pray. In the name of all that is good and right, to you, God, whom our tradition calls Father, and the power of the Holy Spirit, and in the name of our Redeemer and brother Jesus, the living Christ, I pray and I say, Amen.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And we'd like to introduce, we have on the phone with us now Billy Allen.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey everybody, my name is Billy Allen, and I'm a prisoner who's currently be on federal death row. I want to start by thanking all of you for giving up some of your time to listen to why your support is needed in both the free BillyAllen.com campaign and free and safe Dr. Higgs campaign. Both Higgs and I campaign have been working together because both of us are in a situation where the federal government has tried, convicted, and sentenced us to death for crimes we can prove we didn't commit. In saying that we're innocent, I'm pleading with you all to go to our sites where you will see for yourself evidence and proof from the government's own file of two separate instances of injustice where the system of justice that was supposed to protect us has made both Dustin and I innocent. On my site, for example, on www.freebillyallen.com, you can see an actual lab report where the government would test my DNA against DNA that was found at the scene of the crime. They would specifically test my DNA in order to link me to the crime and to the second suspect who was arrested at the crime. And as you will see from the government's own results, their own results came back negative and excluded me. You will also see a gasoline report where the government would test my clothes. Every single trace of clothes that I was arrested in, they would test it for traces of gasoline. And the reason they tested my clothes for gasoline is because the getaway van that was used in the crime was soaked in gasoline. And the government's own forensic expert would testify at my trial that whoever was inside this getaway van would have traces of gasoline on their clothes. Now, they also tested the tested the second suspect who was arrested at the scene of the crime for clothes for gasoline. Every single clothing that was tested by the government came back positive for traces of gasoline. But yet, when they tested my clothes, not a single trace of gasoline was found. Something of importance is also, you will see an actual report where the FBI interviewed a security guard at a shopping mall, Christopher Shigov. They specifically talked to him, and he told the FBI at the exact time that the crime took place, he saw me at the shopping mall shopping with bags and clothes and other items that I had bought that morning. Now, the sad thing for me is that I went to trial in a system that was supposed to be fair and just. And the sad part about it is that they gave me an attorney who didn't even investigate my case. He didn't even go through the government's own file that he had for to find all the evidence that I'm telling you about. All the evidence was known to my attorney because it wasn't specifically known, but it was given to my attorney at the time of my trial. And yet he didn't even go through the file to discover these things. So I had no evidence. So when you read reports about overwhelming evidence, yes, you can always say a defendant is faced with overwhelming evidence when you have an attorney who doesn't present a defense on his behalf. Now, I want to go to Dustin Higgs' situation because he has a dire situation where next week the government is going to try to take his life for a crime he didn't commit. And I feel it's important for me to speak up because Higgs and I have been working together for years. I met him through our site for innocence. And I know for a fact that if you go to his site, you will see the same thing in his case. So you have to ask yourself, how is it that the government is convicting people when they have proof that people can actually do the crime? And the most important thing that you will see about his case is the fact that the person who actually pulled the trigger in his case, the actual confessed, told the FBI that he was the one who pulled the trigger in his case. You can read the report itself on his website. Now, explain this to me. How is it that the person actually took the person's life, took 3 females' life, and had a motive for taking these females' life, is to somebody statements that he the government wants to execute Higgs? Let's call it from the city recruitment. Explain to me how is that justice? How is that punishing the worst of the worst? How is that giving a person, taking a person's life for something that the government even knows he didn't do? So I think for us on the federal death row, so far they have taken 10 people's lives. 10 people's lives in a quick, what they call justice. And this is just a rush for political gain or for political reasons. all to become our voices out there, because we don't have a voice. As you all can see, and as you all see on our sites, we have not received the justice that we're supposed to receive. And I'm asking you all to come out on our behalf and speak out and bring on our evidence. That's what's going to get people's attention. Just the little bit of the Israel. Just taking a life is wrong. But at the same time, when you show people that you have evidence of injustice is taking place, then your voices will become even stronger. Because you're not just saying that the death penalty is wrong. You're showing people why the death penalty is wrong. You're showing that there is no way you can have a system in place that's supposed to take people's lives when basically you can prove that justice hasn't been served in these instances. And I'm asking you all to kind of help us to be our voices. Because right now, even though, we feel like we have a new administration that's going to come in and that's going to change things, they still need a reason to make that change. And our cases can show them why they need to abolish the death penalty. Because there's no way that you can take a human life. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what's so sad about this situation. They have taken friends of mine, and next week they plan to take another friend of mine life for something he didn't do. And what can we do? There's nothing we can do. But yet you all can. You all can be that voice. You all can tell the courts, look, here's the evidence to show you why you should not execute this man next week. And we need your voices to be raised up.
Let's call it from a federal program.
We need to have you on social media. We need to have you tweeting. We need to have you making phone calls to the courts and say, hey, look, we're paying attention. We know that the evidence is there. There's no way that you should be able to follow through with these things. And I'm asking you all to do that. I'm pleading for you all to do that. Please help save my friend's life and help save my life. My friend's life is in more dire situation because he has an execution date for next Friday. That's only a few days away. So I ask you all to use the time that you do have. Blog, tweet, make phone calls, plead with anybody you can to help save his life by next week because he deserves it. And I think that by raising awareness on his case, we might have a chance to save the other two people who have execution dates. But it's going to take a real push to present that evidence on his behalf. Just go to our site. I'm telling you, if you go to the site, you will see the proof for yourself. We are worth fighting for because we have evidence. And take that proof with you and present it to everybody you can and plead for this change. I thank you all for your time, and just know I appreciate you.
Now that we've had a chance to hear from Billy Allen himself, we'd like to invite Micah from Justice to perform. And yes, we are expecting a call from Dustin as well, so we may be interrupted at some point.
Thank you all so much. I got the call from Yvette last night that this event was happening and asked for if there was some music that could help to uplift the event, and it's an honor to be here representing Justice Choir DC, which is an organization to form community through song at events like these. And so later on, hopefully we'll get a chance to all sing together as well, but this song was requested specifically by the family. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. And move mountains, and gonna walk it out. And move mountains, and I'll rise up rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up. And I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up. I'll ride like the waves. I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I'll rise up. And I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you. For you. For you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains. Bring it to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up. And I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you. For you. For you. All we need is hope. And for that we have each other. And for that we have each other. And we will rise, and we will rise, and we will rise up. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, and I'll rise up 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up high like the waves, and we'll rise up in spite of the ache, and we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you.
That was our next honored speaker, but I believe that she needed to step away. So Aisha is our next speaker. Aisha, I'd like to invite you up. Aisha Salam is the sister of Yusuf Salam, one of the exonerated five and the founding member of Justice for the Wrongfully Incarcerated, an organization that works on issues involving the prison industrial complex and wrongful incarceration. Aisha.
Thank you. Oh, it's good to see support. It really is. We need more. We need you guys to keep talking. Tell everyone this is just not right. What goes on here in the United States of America is not right, and it has to stop. My brother, Yusuf Salam, of the Exonerated Five, was taken from us at the age of 15. If he was a year older, like Corey Wise, if Donald Trump had his way, we may be looking at an execution, or may have been looking at an execution of Corey Wise, who was the eldest of them. This is not right. It's not okay. And we have to keep talking. We have to keep putting it out there. We have to let everyone know this is not okay, and we're not going to stand for it any longer. DNA matters. It really does. There was DNA in my brother's case. There's DNA in this case. It matters. It means everything. If the DNA doesn't match, then you're innocent. Bottom line, if it matches someone else, they are guilty. Bottom line, if you're one of those who believes that, if you do a crime, you should do the time. If you do the crime, then maybe, and if it's such a heinous crime, you should be executed. That's not what I believe. But still, if you are one of those, this is not the case. This is not the case. DNA doesn't match here. They didn't do the crimes. It's not okay what's happening. And it happens way too much. People are dying. Innocent people are dying. And it's not okay. And it's not okay for us to be silent. We have to keep talking about this. We have to keep putting it out there. And I know it takes a lot of energy and it puts you in a real bad space. But they don't have anybody else. They need us. And we have no choice. We do. I have children. I don't want this happening to my children. I don't want this happening to my neighbor's children. I don't want it happening to their children and so forth and so on. This has to stop. And it's not okay. This is why we do this work. We started an organization called Justice for the Wrongfully Incarcerated because we knew how much of a toll this justice system has on somebody's life. Even if you do get out, even if you are back in society, you still go through so much. You're still tortured by what you went through. This whole entire system has to be broken down. It really does. It's not okay for this to continue to go on. That's it. We need everyone. We need you. We're counting on that.
Thank you so much. And now I would love to pass the mic to Yvette Allen, the sister of Billy Allen, who is an artist, writer, and playwright. Unfortunately, alongside all of these great things, for the last 23 years, half of his life, he has been falsely imprisoned and sentenced to death for a crime that he did not commit.
As she mentioned, my name is Yvette. I just want to thank you all so much for attending here today. I traveled all the way here to DC to shed light on a very important issue that has recently been getting a lot of attention, but for the wrong reasons. The issues that has brought me here is the most recent wave of federal executions that's taking place at Terre Haute Federal Prison under the direction of this current administration, which to date has resulted in the murder of 10 people thus far, where there could be 3 more executions that could take place this coming week if those executions aren't halted. This issue is most important to me, not only because I'm pro-life, but it's personal because my brother, Billy Allen, has been tried, convicted, and sentenced to death by the federal government for the crime that the government's own evidence can prove he didn't commit. I realized that because I'm personally affected by my brother being on death row, my stating his innocence might seem as if it's based on my love for him. Yes, I love my brother and will fight for him to death to prove that he didn't receive the justice he deserved. The justice he deserves, but my belief in my brother's innocence is founded on the fact that for the last 23 years, he has held evidence of his innocence that was in his possession of the federal government, which was never presented at his trial. The evidence I wish to show you are the actual reports, which I have. The actual reports from the government's file, which show that the government had in their own possession, negative DNA results that prove my brother's innocence, negative gasoline results that prove my brother's innocence, a report that shows that the FBI had interviewed a security guard at a shopping mall who told the FBI that at the exact time of the crime took place, he saw my brother shopping at the shopping mall, but yet none of these things were presented on his behalf. My journey to fight for my brother became more intense a while back when I met Dustin Higgs through my brother and through my brother's fight for his innocence. Two people who were fighting to prove their innocence. As I've gotten to know Dustin, I found evidence that shows a man sitting on federal death row, Dustin Higgs, for a crime that the government knows he didn't commit. The person who acted actually committed, not only confessed the crime, but gave a written to the FBI. But yet, the person that committed the murder is serving a life sentence, and yet Dustin is sitting on death row. How is that justice in the system of justice that we can take so much pride in, when the person who is responsible for the crimes receives a lesser time than the person that actually committed the crime? That's why I came here today, because I felt that it was important for me to be here and stand in the place where justice was formed, where our founders came together to ensure that every citizen, black, white, no matter your ethnicity, race, class, will receive justice. I'm here because I feel like I can make an imprint here, and hopefully it spreads out to all the other states. We can show that justice isn't and hasn't been served, because innocence does matter.
Thank you so much. Yes, Roderick is our next speaker. Roderick Reed is our next speaker. Roderick is the youngest brother and advocate for Rodney Reed, who has been falsely imprisoned and sentenced to death for a crime that he did not commit.
Thank you. I'd first like to start out by giving all praise and honor to God for bringing us together here so that we can stand up against this horrible death penalty. The speakers that came before me gave prime examples why we should abolish the death penalty. It seems to me that they are too busy trying to get convictions instead of trying to get justice. And it's appropriate that we stand here right now in front of this statue of Martin Luther King, because one of his quotes was, "An injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And if we don't stand up for this, for justice, for right, for truth, we might as well not stand up at all. But I'm pleading for everybody to stand up, get involved. You know, my brother's been on death row for 23 years. And there's medical and forensic science that proves his innocence. There's witnesses. There's a whole list of things, just like Dustin Higgs, just like Billy Allen. But yet, we are here fighting, trying to save their lives. Is that justice? All I know is that a change needs to happen. And it can only happen if we stand together and make it happen. Together we stand, divided we fall. And I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand with Dustin Higgs' family, Billy Allen's family. I'm gonna stand for everybody that's on death row family in them. Because God has put it on my heart to do all that I can do, and he says he'll do the rest. So I'm gonna do all that I can do and stand behind these families and stand up for right, for justice. You know, me and my family drove up from Texas to be here, to speak. And I do it 1,000 more times if necessary to get this point across. This administration, Donald Trump, these federal elections, it makes no sense. Federal sanctioned murders, state sanctioned murders are just that. They are murders. And it does not do anything but perpetuate the violence. My family, their family is not whole. It's not whole. When you have a part of you that's being wrongfully held, wrongfully sentenced to death, that is a thing that weighs heavy on your heart. And life is not the same as you know it, because you have to get your priorities together. And their lives matter. And that's the reason we're here. And that's the reason I'm going to be in Terre Haute. That's the reason I'm going to be everywhere I need to be if God gives me the strength to stand up and abolish the death penalty, period. Thank y'all.
I'd like to invite Micah back up for comments. Thank you very much.
So this time I'm hoping that y'all will sing with me. If we're gonna do a song called Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around. People know it? Someone know it? Yes, thank you. All right. So we'll start like this, and we'll do the first one just a couple times so everyone can get comfortable with it. And then if folks want to shout out different words of things that are not going to turn us around, they are super welcome, and we can add those to the verses that we sing. So it goes like this. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. So let's do that again. So whatever the call is, ain't gonna let nobody, and then you turn me around, okay? Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, yes, turn me around, gonna let nobody turn me around, gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Whoa, ain't gonna let injustice turn me around, turn me around. Turn me around, ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Oh, ain't gonna let no system turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no system turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. What else we got? Other things. Let Donald Trump. Gonna let no Donald Trump turn me around. Ain't gonna let no Donald Trump, no. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no Donald Trump, no. Turn me around, gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice, ain't gonna let injustice turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. One more. What? Ain't gonna let the judge. Ain't gonna let the judge turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let the judge turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Thank y'all for singing. Who's next?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to invite Daquan up to the mic now.
I want to thank you all for coming out today and supporting my father and Billy Allen's cause. And every other person who's on death penalty. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Daquan, and I'm the son of Destin J. Higgs, who is currently sitting on death penalty, set to be executed next Friday, January 15th, on Martin Luther King Day. A lot of people keep asking me, who is your father to you? Do you think he's innocent? Has he changed? Well, the man who I met, the man who I got to know, he is a different man. He's a changed man, and he's innocent man. He's sitting on death row for a crime he didn't commit, and there's evidence that shows that he did not commit these murders. But although we do have these evidence, we have the paperwork, we have the files, does that change anything? No. They're still going to execute him next week. Why? Because there's no awareness. He doesn't have no support. His voice isn't being heard. And that's what we ask all of you here today. And we thank all of you here today for standing out here today in the code in support of everyone who is on death penalty. A lot of people keep asking me another question. What are you going to do if it does happen? And the question is, I don't know. My father is my best friend. I can't afford to lose my best friend anymore. He's taught me so much in life. He's taught me to be a man. The man that stands here before you today, that's confident in speaking on his behalf, and that has the voice, that has the comprehension to intellectually converse with you all. He's taught me understanding that even if he does pass away next week, he knows that it's for a greater purpose, maybe to spread awareness for the next person, so we can abolish this death penalty for good. My father has so many people that want to use his cause for their own selfish gain. And I ask you to please turn a blind eye to those people, because my father's cause is his cause. Save Dustin J. Higgs. Billy Allen's cause is Billy Allen's. Save Billy Allen. Abolish the death penalty? Yes. But save these innocent men who are sitting on death row. I just want to thank you all for coming out today. And I really do appreciate you. God bless.
Thank you so much. I want to take a moment before we have a couple performances to close to thank everyone for coming out today. Also to give you our calls to action that the families have put forth, because speaking out and listening to the testimonies of the families here today is an incredibly important component of this. But what we need is for everybody who is watching live today, who is here, to take action, because that is what is going to cause change. So what we need is for everybody to call the White House, to call the Attorney General, to sign petitions. If you are watching on our live, you can find links in the link tree Sunrise Movement DC. You can also find it in our lives in the comments. You can also find it on the Instagram and on the web pages of the two families who have been present, as well as on the pages of Rodney Reed, Billy Allen, Dustin Higgs. All of these numbers and all of these information are available there. Please, please take action. This cannot happen without your action. So being here, liking the page is not enough. You need to pick up the phone and call. We are standing at the memorial of the man whose birthday Dustin Higgs is scheduled to be executed on. I think we just need to take a moment to take that in. That is the state that we are living in. If that doesn't prompt you to pick up the phone and make a phone call, I don't know what will. This is not okay. The federal death penalty is a racial justice issue. Black lives matter. Dustin Higgs' life matters. Billy Allen's life matters. Rodney Reed life matters. Thank you for being here today. Daquan, over to you for your performance.
Also, my father did have shirts that he would want to be purchased. Basically, all the donations are supposed to go to St. Jude's. A lot of you don't know, my father's mother passed away from cancer, So he wants all of the shirts donations to go to St. Jude's Children's Cancer for Research. So if you all would like to purchase a shirt, please just let me know after this weekend. This is a hoodie. This is the shirt, and this is another one right here. This is his artwork. It says "Perfect Scapegoat" because my father is literally the perfect scapegoat. They pinned this murder on him, and they got away with it. One's life sentence, and one's free. But my father's about to die next week. So if you guys can find it in your heart to still support his cause, please call the number. Please sign a petition. Please donate. And please just try to spread as much awareness as you can. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to repeat the phone number that you all can call, 202-353-1555. Thank you. And Micah, we'd like to invite you up for the final performance.
What's that number on?
The Justice Department.
So, Roger, as you were speaking, it really stuck out with me that you were saying that this change needs. That was a very almost like the inability. We know that we're moving in a direction and that the change is going to come. And I think being in this place and with Martin Luther King Jr. behind us and with the support of everybody who's here and everybody who's watching, the change is going to come. So I wanted to just uplift that musically before we go. I was born by the river in a little town, and just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Oh, yes it will. And I go to the trees, and I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me, don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. And I go to my brother, and I said, brother, help me please. And then he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there have been times in my life I couldn't last for long, but now I know I am able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And now I would like to pass the mic to Lucy, who wants to thank everyone for.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sinetsia, and I am the mother of Daquan, ex-fiance of Justin Higgs. And I just want to share some insight about the type of person, the type of man that I've seen Dustin grow to be. I met Dustin when I was 17 years old, and I fell head over heels for him. And he was, and still is, my everything. Um, I just want people to understand what type of person he is. He's a very talented man. He's very smart. He's very genuine. He's very caring. Even before we had Daquan here, he helped me raise my youth that was abandoned by his own mother. Dustin treated everyone as his own and loved everyone with the same compassion and love that he has for his own. So I just want to share what type of person he is, very caring, and visiting him on Wednesday, that just proved to me that everything that I'm saying about he's a very strong-minded individual. I just don't understand how he could be so strong right now, considering slated to happen on next Friday. Um, I was appalled of, by his strength, because I know I would have been a mess. So he wants everyone to know that he appreciates all the love and support, and also he's innocent. He wants to make everyone know that he's slated to be killed and he is innocent. That's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
I just want to say one more thing. You know, I feel their pain, and I'm still currently going through mine as well. But I'm asking people out there to get involved. It's easy to stand up here and just do for your loved one. But when you stand up and you do for someone that you haven't met, that you don't know, then you're truly doing something. Then you're truly giving. Then you're truly living. And we need to live. That is what living is about. Coming outside of ourselves and doing for others. Treating people the way you want to be treated. Equality is something that we all must have in our lives. I'm standing here, my heart's trembling. I feel the pain and this upcoming execution. We have got to do all that we can do to prevent that. My brother Rodney Reed, with the help of the Innocence Project and all the people out there, we had over 5 million signatures signed. We had bipartisan support, Democrats and Republicans. We had amicus letters written by active and retired police. We've had stars, Kim Kardashian, Dr. Phil. And what I'm asking right now is for everybody that stood up and standing for Rodney Reed to stand for Billy Allen and Justin Higgs as well. I'm asking them to do that. And not only do that, but help abolish the death penalty. We need all that support. Now we're calling the action. Stand up and be accounted. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. We want to thank all the families who organized this event. Sunrise Movement DC is proud to have supported you in this event, but really this was led by you, and we really want to thank you so much for all of the work that you put in, and we are so glad to have to work with you, and we are here for you in this fight and would love to continue to work with you in this fight. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today, and please follow the calls to action, and we hope that you will pick up the phone, and we can't let this injustice continue. Thank you.
It's most unusual to see a person in Dustin's position, an accomplice, get the death penalty when the person who actually did the murdering gets a life sentence.
He didn't take a life, so why you want to take his life?
I don't know where we as a people are going to benefit by taking Dustin's life.
The last person standing in front of those young ladies was Willis Haynes. He's the one that pulled the trigger again and again and again.
Dustin, as a child, was a happy boy, and he was a regular young boy. He got in very little trouble. He was very, very close and protective to his mother. Dustin was Marilyn, my sister Marilyn's whole world. Everything revolved around Dustin.
Dustin was just as doting to Marilyn as Marilyn was to Dustin. They had a special bond.
I know that Dustin's father, Alfonso Higgs, had a tendency to be mean to Marilyn.
Marilyn was a single mother and was in an abusive relationship with Dustin's father, Alfonso. Alfonso would beat Dustin's mother in front of him, and Dustin would try to intervene, often getting hurt himself in the process.
Dustin's father paid a minimal attention to Dustin. He was always too busy with whatever else he was involved in. But he did not play a father's role in Dustin's life.
I didn't like Dustin's father. I didn't like him because he had other children and he was still doing the same, dealing with drugs. And he lived around the corner on Mansion Street and he was dealing right out of his house.
Dustin grew up in a rough area of Poughkeepsie, where crime and drug abuse were rampant.
Dustin was very protective of who came in the house, what they were there for. I think he was afraid that somebody might come in the house that might be more like Alfonso from after I find out how bad Alfonso was.
Dustin's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer when Dustin was 8 years old. Marilyn's doctor had missed an earlier diagnosis, so by the time she found out, the cancer had already metastasized.
At a young age, when his mother became sick, he was responsible for the household. He was responsible for caring for his mother. He would feed her, he would dress her, he would take care of the apartment. He became the head of the house, and of course she became the child. Dustin had kind of a change of a personality. He lost contact with a lot of his friends, taking care of his mother. And the stress of going to school and trying to keep up on his schoolwork, he had problems with that. He did the best he could. He was only, 10 years old. Initially, when she was first diagnosed, of course, she responded to the treatments. But as the cancer increased, of course, she became weaker and weaker. And Dustin took care of his mother more and more. Marilyn, at the end of her illness, was almost an invalid. Even going to the doctor, she was not able to make it up the stairs or into the elevator. And my brother Richie had to carry her everywhere she went. She just became bedridden. That was it.
Dustin, I was kind of surprised that at 10 years old, he wanted to take part in his mother's funeral arrangements, making sure we had our glasses, making sure it was the right dress that we had picked out to use for her, with the right dress and the right colors, and he picked out her shoes, and he was very involved. And I was worried at one time because he didn't act like a kid. And I think he was holding everything inside.
When his mother passed away, Dustin was like isolated. He didn't want to be around anyone. He would just get up and walk out, and he might walk all over Poughkeepsie. Someone might say to you, I saw Dustin here, I saw Dustin there. And then when he came to Stafford to live with us, he still had the same behavior. He would disappear and just go for a walk, and you say, where were you? And he might have just been in the woods.
He wouldn't talk. He would be sitting there, and sometime I'd go to my sister Connie's house, and the kids would be on the back deck, and they're all running, and Dustin would be over by the car and just sit by himself for a while.
But he never got over that, losing his mother, because she was always there for Dustin, very protective for Dustin. I tried my best, but I could not be his mother.
January of 1996, the bodies of 3 young women were found on a road in Prince George's County that was a state road that happened to wind through federal property known as the Patuxent Wildlife Center. There was a social date between the 3 young men and the 3 young women. At some point in the evening, the relationship deteriorated. And when they were to be driven home, Dustin Higgs was driving his vehicle. Willis Haynes was the right front seat passenger, and Victor Gloria was in the back of the vehicle behind the young women. At some point that evening, the car went into this Patuxent wildlife area. The vehicle stopped. Willis Haynes got out of the vehicle and proceeded to shoot all 3 women, and they left the bodies in the road.
The crime went unsolved for 3 years, until statements made by Victor Gloria gave police a break in the case.
Initially, in his statement, Victor Gloria told the police that he had nothing to do with it, didn't know what they were talking about with regard to the crime. Later on, he gave them more details, brought Willis's name into it, and they asked him as part of his statement why he didn't tell them at first, and he said he was terrified that Willis would harm him or his kids. Willis was just a dangerous character.
When I met Dustin Higgs, I was 13. We lived across the street from the basketball court in Beltsville. So we would go over there and play basketball, shoot the breeze. So it became like a everyday summer thing. My father, Wendell, had a stroke and a heart attack. He was there to make sure my mother made it to the grocery store, grocery runs, made sure if she needed anything. You know, became like, Dustin Higgs became like another son of her and a brother of mine. That was the type of person he was. If he had it in his pocket, you had it in yours. If he was putting food in, if Dustin was putting food in his mouth, he was putting food in your mouth.
He was a good boyfriend. He was very attentive. He wanted me to finish school, and he made sure I was up and at it every morning. And he would like do things for my grandmother as far as like changing her tires, if she needed her car washed, you know, little things, running to the store for her. So I mean, he was a big help to my family.
I met Dustin his senior year when I was teaching in Hyde Park at Franklin Delano Roosevelt High School. Dustin was diagnosed as learning disabled. It was non-specific, but he seemed to have a lot of difficulty with writing, putting words on paper, formulating ideas. He had some emotional problems, I think because he lost his mother at the end of 3rd grade. So in addition to his learning disabilities, he had some sadness because he was grieving. And he had these big, dark, sad eyes. He was very shy, withdrawn, but a nice kid. He was just nice. He wasn't rude, he didn't curse, he was a follower. They would start fooling around and he would kind of go with what his friends were doing, but Dustin really, He never seemed to be the one who initiated any kind of fooling around or any other activities.
Nothing in my testing indicated Dustin to be a violent person. I saw him more as a frightened, scared person who tried to keep others not realizing that and keep people away from him, basically. But nothing in his testing indicated that he was a violent or aggressive individual. He rejected his father's role. He rejected his father's abuse of women. He saw himself as protecting women, not assaulting or attacking them. This drawing was done by Dustin Higgs 3 days before his 28th birthday. And it is the quality that one would find of a young adolescent, more of a 9 or 10-year-old than it would be of a 28-year-old. And it reflects his emotional development, not as a 28-year-old strong adult male who now stands 6 foot 4 inches tall and weighs 174 pounds, but rather the opposite, a very weak, inadequate individual who has no sense of self or sense of strength, basically.
One of the issues that was never really addressed and clarified at trial was really how immature Dustin was at the time that this happened. While he was in fact in chronological years, in his early 20s, from a psychiatric point of view, developmentally, he was really as a stuck, in his early teen years, and so the nature and quality of his decision-making processes, so from the standpoint of being able to assess what's going on around him and use that information to kind of understand and appreciate the situation you find yourself in, from the standpoint of being able to come up with hypothetical alternative ways for you to address the situation you find yourself in and weigh the pros and cons of that, considering what are the long-term consequences of things that you're doing. He wasn't able to do any of that in any sort of reasonable way, and so he was really like a young teenager.
The prosecution in Dustin's case claimed that Dustin was the dominant one in his relationship with Willis, and that he had ordered Willis to shoot the girls. In a signed affidavit, Willis wrote, "Dustin didn't threaten me. I was not scared of him. Dustin didn't make me do anything, that night or ever."
The prosecution said that Dustin ordered Willis to kill the 3 young women, and that doesn't find any support in our investigation. Everybody that we spoke with thought that it was absurd that Dustin, of all people, who was not a very forceful person, could control Willis, who no one else was able to control.
Willis's trial had come first, and the prosecution presented a very different story.
When Willis was tried, the prosecution tried to make it out as though he was acting on his own. In the closing argument of the prosecutor, she told the jury, "When you look at the past behavior of Mr. Haynes, you will see the choices that he makes in his life, and they suit only Mr. Haynes. He chooses when to kill and when to scare. He chooses when to threat and when to carry it out." They go on to say, "This is the murderer. He did it. He killed those girls."
When the prosecution failed to get a death sentence for Willis, they changed their theory of the case to make Dustin the primary aggressor in time for Dustin's trial. As the accomplice, Dustin was only eligible for the death penalty because the crime had been committed on federal land. Had the crime been committed just down the road, on Maryland land, Dustin would not have been eligible for the death penalty.
It was critically important to the government's case that Victor Gloria testify that there was some comment passed between Dustin Higgs and Willis Haynes, and that he actually saw a handgun pass from Dustin Higgs to Willis Haynes.
They could not have secured a conviction, let alone a death sentence, without that testimony. Now, Victor Gloria had given several inconsistent statements. When I interviewed Victor Gloria shortly before he was released from custody, he told me that he had in fact been asleep throughout the incident and was only awakened by the sound of the gunshot.
While Willis received a life sentence, Dustin was sentenced to die by lethal injection. The jury in Dustin's case heard nothing about Dustin's learning disabilities and heard very little about his difficult upbringing.
Our mitigation specialist testified at trial that Dustin was an average student to a good student, that he met all of his development marks on time, that he was fairly well adjusted in school. And now we see that that was hardly the case, that Dustin had a long record of being identified as a learning disabled child, that the counseling that was recommended was never given, and there were things that the jury should have known, that we had a duty to bring before this jury that just never got before the jury. And frankly, I'm just really appalled to find out that there are over 500 pages of special education records that we never saw. If we had had these records, we would have approached the defense presentation differently. We would have used at least one more expert to explain how these early educational problems and deficits affect somebody's life and the impact that it had on Dustin's path in life. We try to empower each of the jurors to think about that and to stand by their principles. If we could just get to one, that's all it takes to save a person's life. And frankly, with these records, with these additional witnesses that we now certainly would have called, I'm convinced that we could have done that. I think we could have saved his life.
Dustin has now been on death row for 16 years.
Dustin's appeals have been exhausted, and he's never had the opportunity to present the new evidence that we've developed at a hearing. And now clemency is his last resort, the only thing that can save his life.
Dustin has a son named Daquan, who was born after Dustin was arrested.
I was trying to ask the guards, is there like a room that you can take the babies just so he can hold them, you know? For a second they was like, no, you know, everything is behind the partition, the glass. So I know he needs his father, and I know his father needs him and his life also. They email back and forth like every day, and he's always calling, so he is a very dedicated father.
Could you tell us your name?
Daquan.
Your name is Daquan? Okay. Daquan, do you know how old you are? How many is that?
1, 2, 3.
Tell me about your daddy.
My dad loves me.
He loves you? Okay. Do you talk to him on the telephone? Over there on the phone? Well, you're a good little boy. And I'm very glad that you talked to me.
This is a letter that I've received from my dad. What's up, Daquan? How are things going with you? I pray that when this letter reaches you, that it may find you in the best of health. I must take a moment to say how proud of you that I am. Your mother informed me of the many things that you are transpiring with. She said that you have recently received a few letters from some colleges that are interested in having you attend their school. How's the debate club coming along?
He wants to be a lawyer so that he can free his dad from prison, and you know, that's why he's so diligent in his schoolwork, and he stays on honor roll because he's like, I'm going to be a lawyer and I'm going to help my father get out of jail. And like everything he does, he relates it to Dustin.
My father, to me, Like, he's very special to me. He cares deeply for me, and he always wants me to be on the right track. He doesn't want me to end up where he is, so he always leads me in the right direction. If he wasn't in my life, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know where I'd be, because it seems like every time I'm always into some trouble, or every time I feel like I'm about to do something wrong, I can always like kind of hear my father's telling me, choose the right friends, don't be a follower. He's my motivation in life.
If Dustin was executed, that would seriously hurt Daquan. He would want justice to be served correctly, so that would be a big injustice if his father would, be executed.
But just the way he took care of his mother, that shows how he cared for all of us. He had to bathe her, he had to feed her, clothe her, everything. Dustin would not harm anyone like they say he did.
Dustin is all I have left of Maryland. Dustin is my last link to Maryland. What I'm hoping for, and I think the family hoping for, is just to get Dustin off of death row. Just get him in the general population, and then we still have Maryland here with us. And we can still visit Dustin. And the other thing is I can't see any benefit. From what I understand, Dustin didn't do the killing. And I can't see the benefit of taking his life. I don't know where we as a people are going to benefit by taking Dustin's life.
A lot of the things that Dustin has done, I kind of blame myself for them. I say, well, I should have kept better track of this, or I should have paid, and you can't go around saying the rest of your life, I should have, could have, would have. So a lot of it I do blame myself for, but I definitely don't want him to be sentenced to any harm or danger any more than just being locked up. I don't even want to think about it. I really don't even want to think about it, because just talking about it,